social isolation than having to feel.
You're listening to the nativetalk.net radio podcast. If life were a circus, we'd be the ringmaster. Now grab your nets and let's go fishing.
Welcome back to the Native Talk.net radio podcast. Message line if you want to call up, drop us a line anytime, 970-278-5791, and visit us online at nativetalk.net to download and listen to any of our past shows. We're continuing with Danelle Reed of the Puyallup Tribe, fellow tribal member, same tribe as I am, and she's a PhD in, what was it, clinical psychology, I think?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, have you seen this new Cigna study about loneliness?
I just pulled it up, actually, and I was starting to read it while you were on break.
Yeah. I couldn't
I
believe
hadn't seen it until like 30 seconds ago.
And I saw the headline on USA Today, which said that millennials are lonelier than, they're lonelier than anyone else. But that headline is misleading because when you pull up the research, we have an epidemic of loneliness. This is something that's affecting people all across the country. And they use this UCLA loneliness scale, which I read, and it was pretty amazing, the kinds of things that they have on questions. Like, I'm unhappy doing so many things alone. I've got nobody to talk to. I can't tolerate being so alone. I find myself waiting for people to call in right. As I read these and I realize people are answering that's happening to them on a regular basis, I'm sitting here going, get out more. Why can't you find friends? But apparently it's difficult for some folks,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why. Like, it shouldn't be that hard. All you got to do is go find any club, any hobby, whatever it is you're interested in. There's somebody out there who shares that, and
Yeah.
And I wonder, is it just like the video game culture? Like, people are used to such instant gratification, like things should come easy, things should come simply. And the fact is, whatever hobby you want to get involved in, it's going to take work. It takes a long time, and you don't get good at anything overnight,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if people are just getting lazy.
I don't know. I just think that our society is definitely changing. The childhood that I had, it was like, the B word was a bad word you couldn't use that word, or you'd be scrubbing the ceiling. B is bored.
Oh,
so if you
right.
said I'm bored, so my mom would have us clean the garage, or like I said, she's like, if you said anything like that, or go outside and figure it out, we would make mud pies and, chase frogs. And our kids aren't doing that. They're on their gaming systems shooting up people in fake wars, or Candy Crush. And I don't play either of those games. So I don't know.
It's okay sometimes, but it's when you get into it all the time, It's
I know people who game for all day.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, right. It's not healthy.
No.
And I mean, I saw a really sad picture of a woman at an airport, and she had a beautiful little baby, infant, couldn't walk baby, who 100% relying on her mom. And the mom's got a screen 6 inches from her face, and the baby's down on the floor going, nobody's interacting with this, and the mom's on a screen. It's, to me,
play with your kids.
A perfect image of what's going wrong in our society.
And that's why we've got almost half of all Americans across all age groups reporting that they sometimes or always feel alone.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even feel alone when I am alone, because I always have something to do. I've got so many projects that if I'm alone and I have, quote unquote, nothing to do, I'm going to pull up, and work on whatever project I've got going. I mean, I can, look stuff up, and I feel perfectly happy if I'm alone. I can go out in the backyard and, work on something out there. And, so if you're feeling alone, I think that's that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I wonder
yeah, like
what's going on in your life.
And again, I think this kind of goes to, what are people exposed to as they're coming up? Because I'm sure a lot of people wish and desire to be able to be goal directed and have that kind of clear path set out for them. But they haven't been shown how to do that. It hasn't been modeled for them. It hasn't been reinforced in any way, shape, or form in their life to date, let's say, for a young person, or even we have, clients that are my age and who will come in and say, because we set goals in therapy, that's a piece of how you get better. And they're like, I don't even know how to do that. I mean, they don't know how to do that.
That's
so
incredible to me.
Well, but it happens in a greater percentage than you could imagine, because you obviously got really good training kind of coming up and you can fully appreciate the importance of goal setting. But so many people didn't and they don't get it, so they've spent most of their life just kind of getting through and trying to get through, let's say, the next day or even the next hour, and they don't have, the path wasn't forged for them.
And that's always been my thought about substance abuse specifically, because in my life I've had, we've got a huge opioid epidemic.
Yes.
People are hooked on these pills and stuff like that. And I had a procedure where the doctor prescribed me opioid pills, and I thought they were fantastic. I loved those things. They made me feel great. But when I didn't get that many, they gave me like 20 of the things, and they were gone within 2 weeks. And I had no desire or need to continue that, even though they did make me feel good, because I've got a whole lot of things going on in my life. And so I didn't feel the desire to go out there and seek those out elsewhere. And so people who are alcoholics, they're addicted to pills or other drugs. I feel like they're doing it because they don't like the life that they're in, that they're currently living. And so they're looking to escape that and kind of, feel something else. Whereas I enjoy the life I'm living and I don't want to escape it. Yeah. So getting addicted to drugs isn't something that I've ever really struggled with, even when I find one that I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So if people had, more hobbies and more friends, I mean, looking at this, where you've got a quarter of Americans who rarely or never feel like there are people who understand them. If you've got people who don't understand you, you're not going to be very happy. And so you're probably going to be.
Mm-hmm. And you think go find new people, right? But it's hard if you haven't been kind of, challenged to do that up into your life at that point. And I think, for some people, for folks who end up with having problems with alcohol or having problems with opiates or the like, a lot of the times they don't go into it saying I'm escaping. They go into it because with opiates they're prescribed them, and it takes less than 8 days to become physically. So not even if there's absolutely, like, let's say you're perfect in your head, that you can form a physical addiction, and then your body is going to drive you to want more. And that's at a survival level.
Just so after 2 weeks,
you'll wake up and your body's telling you, I need it, and you're going to go get it.
Yeah, I felt like I wanted it, but I didn't want it,
Well, I mean, it's kind of mind over matter, body over mind. They're all kind of connected, but a lot of folks, and I actually have people in my own family system who have developed opiate addictions, and it was on, I'll say on accident. It happened because the doctor gave them 180 pills.
My God.
And they used them.
Well, if I had them, I might have used them too.
And then they were like, I need more. And so at 180 pills, you're 30 days in to what is now a 21-day full-blown physical addiction, and you don't even know it. So, it kind of can happen that way. And the same with alcohol. You start off and it's socializing, and you're, maybe you have a little bit of social anxiety and it helps you relax, and you're doing it only on the weekends. And then it turns into the weekends plus Sunday night. And then it turns into the weekends plus Sunday and Wednesday. And, so it, totally happen accidental. And then you're dealing with, again, it's that stigma that keeps you from like maybe admitting to your spouse or your best friend, like, hey, I might be overusing some of this stuff, because what are they going to think, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to a year of promoting the no stigma. I think it's so extremely important.
Well, and that's a good thing. Obviously, we shouldn't be stigmatizing it, but you also need to be able to admit if you've got a problem. When I was in high school, I had anxiety issues, and I had I felt kind of lonely, because I would have answered this differently in high school than I would now, because I had a hard time connecting with people. But by looking at that situation and telling myself, I'm here and I want to be over here, and I made a plan to get there, I understood that I was not where I wanted to be. And so I worked really hard to get the problems out of the way early, get the embarrassments and make the mistakes, because that's the only way that you're going to learn the right way to do it. And now it's not so hard, but whereas back then it was more, So you've got to have a plan of action, and to admit that, hey, something's wrong. I'm not happy with where I am. I need to get to where I want to be. That's a goal.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a goal. And, I'd say the vast majority of young people, and even, I'm Gen X, and then between the millennials and Gen X, a lot of us don't know how to do that. We just don't. I learned it in grad school. So I was 25 when I started graduate school, and I got overwhelmed, instantly when I came home with a car full of books and, 8 syllabus. And I was like, and it took me sharing that with my advisor. Like, I don't think I can do this. This is too overwhelming. I was seeing the big picture and getting overwhelmed by that. And they're like, let's scale that down, Danelle. And like, literally they took out the calendar for me, and they're like, so if you have an exam, this book is due on this Friday, and you have an exam that Thursday, and so literally we just started plugging in smaller goals than the getting through the semester. Right. And then even backing up to like the day, how am I going to spend my day? Like my day was 7 o'clock, get up and get ready. And then 8 o'clock I was at my department, and 3 o'clock I was at my job, but so it was laying out those steps those all seem doable.
Yeah. Take it in steps, organize your day.
Goals, getting organized. But I was 25 years old when I had an adult who stopped, and I love my mother, but she never stopped me and said, hey, how are you going to goal set for the rest of your life? I got it in grad school, thank God, and my mom did the best that she could, but she didn't teach me how to goal set.
Yeah, I probably got lucky. My dad, when I was 17 years old, I graduated from high school, and he told me we don't allow bums in the house.
Oh.
And, if I didn't have a job in 2 weeks, he was going to throw me out.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks went by, and I didn't have a job. And my dad's a house painter, so he put me to work painting houses with him. Told me I wasn't allowed to quit unless I had another job. So
there you go.
And you just have to sometimes do the hard thing.
Right.
Because that's the only way that you're going to learn. If you think that life is going to be easy, life has never been easy. It's not supposed to be easy. And if you think it is, that's why you're lonely, probably.
I don't know.
You think life should be just handed to you, and it won't?
Well, yeah. I mean, I certainly heard people accuse millennials of that. I don't know. Life's super complicated, but
and a lot of people say that because they're all hooked on the social media stuff. But interestingly, with this survey, social media use was not a significant predictor of loneliness. People who were very heavy users of social media had a loneliness score of 43, whereas people who weren't high users of it, they never use social media, is only 41. So the difference is minimal. I mean, this is an epidemic that spans all age groups.
Yeah. I'm going to have to, I do have the study pulled up right here on my computer, so I will definitely have to read it. I think, you know, another really good in terms of Mental Health Awareness Month, there is Mental Health America, which is, I think, the website you visited, and their health promotion message is For Mind, for Body. And, you know, they're putting out toolkits, you know, that basically promote how to live well. I mean, how cool, right? How often should you exercise? You know, and 10 years ago, the mental health field was not talking about exercise. The mental health field wasn't talking about how nutrition affects your mental state. And that all seems really ridiculous to me. I mean, I sat in a screen, this is way back in the day at Vanderbilt, and I had a patient who came in and she was complaining of anxiety and describing how she feels physically when anxiety starts coming on. And so I am assessing her nutrition, and she drank Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
And so I said, well, how much do you drink of Dr. Pepper? She goes, oh, like two or three like cups a day. I go, oh, okay. Well, how big are those cups? They were big gulps.
Oh, Lord.
So if you drink that much sugar and that much caffeine over the course of your waking 12 hours, you are going to feel anxious because you have all of that stuff in your body is going to make you feel sick. It's going to tear your stomach up, which looks and feels like anxiety. You know, I mean, it's those things where I think, you know, I know my field is kind of catching up to, it's not just one thing. You know, a wellness wheel can be anywhere from, you know, back in the day, the Native American wellness wheel has 4 dimensions, right? Mental, physical, spiritual, and relational. Now we know wellness, if you're truly living kind of a well-balanced life, it's got 10 or 12 or 14 aspects of your life. You've got environmental health. You've got your working health or education health. You've got your family systems relation health, you know. So we're catching up to that. And
I think the important thing is that as, you know, the mental health field is catching up to these things, there are more opportunities for folks who are feeling lonely, experiencing depression, and struggling with, you know, any types of mental issues. There's help out there for them.
Yes, there is.
And there's a lot of places that they can turn. And, you know, so I hope anybody who's struggling with this is not afraid to reach out and to get the help that they do need. All right, we got to that's about all the time we got. So thank you guys for listening today. We'll be back next week with more stimulating Native Talk Radio, available online at nativetalk.net. We'll see you guys next week.
You're listening to the nativetalk.net radio podcast. In the event we lose broadcast pressure, place headphones over ears and listen normally. Now grab your nets and let's go fishing.